Judaism website, and I read it the beginning of the week.
And it's wonderful because in comparison to the Schwache, we only know about this world, etc., etc. You got your copy?
I will share.
We'll share?
Normally we say it's
Wait a minute. You give her this one, I'll give you the sitter so you have bigger oysters. Ah, here you
I have
are.
my own. Thank
Hey,
you. I
bless
think
you.
this would have been enough today. Thank
Okay.
you.
Here is something I'm going to send around. Just came.
the flame of the heart. Ooh.
And here is something else. The best book that I've ever seen on practical meditation from more from the eastern side is by Eknat Eswaran, who is really, you can do good kavanah with that. I'll send it around so you can order it if you're interested.
Good.
The next thing is
Show and tell.
it's show and tell today. This book I've been looking for ages. Hi. And I've talked to someone in Israel that he should, because he had this with the old Rashi text, that he should go and have it rescanned, stuff like that. It didn't work. Then one day I asked Beagleisen if he can get me at least an old copy. He says, you don't need an old copy, here it is. I ordered 10 copies. They'll cost you $10 a piece. But I'd like to learn from this, and here's what's in there. Yesod Ha'avodah, Al Tfilot Lechol HaShana V'al Shir HaShirim, Asifat Emarim Tehorim. Then it goes on, Metzadike Yesod Olam. He's taking from the first 3-4 generations of Hasidic masters what various pieces they have to say on prayer. So I'm going to pass it around, and if you want the copy, this one you have to pay for. Okay, let's see. Anyone interested in calligraphy and being a sofer, this is an entire set of Limud Hilchus Stam, how to be a sofer, and here, how to write and how to prepare the pen.
Wow.
The quill, and a fantastic book that came along with that. Dinim about all that, but Surat HaOtiyot and how to write them. So you can see he begins here with where you put the quill, the first line, then to do the tagin, then to take the final line down, and he gives it to you in many forms so that you can, how to prepare the quill.
Wow.
And Surat HaOtiyot, according to, here, that's really interesting. This one is called Velish. Velish, and it means the way in which the Sephardim wrote in the shul, for instance, in Cordova. It's in this ksav. And some Moroccan Sephardim will have that. And here's the
If
base.
it's Sephardic, it's ktav, not ksav.
Huh? Yes, ksav, right. But I'm still here with the Sheknozi. This is according to the Aryeh. This is the and also this is interesting. This is the order in which lefties can write it, because a Sefer Torah, a sofer by right Hebrew gets written from right to left. Now, why did it begin from right to left? Because that's right. That's the way in which you do lapidary script. That's the easiest way to do it. If you write with pen and ink, from right to left, you smear it. So lefties, and most of the people have given you the Seder how to write. So he shows you here, instead of moving from here to there, he has it from there to here to show a lefty how to write. It's a wonderful sefer, and that
Well,
goes.
there's also another theory about that, and that is that when writing Hebrew, a lefty pulls the ink, draws it out, rather than a righty who pushes it and gets an uneven thing. And that's, I remember reading something about that was the theory behind Rashi, Rashi is that Rashi was a left-hander, and it flowed easier to make those.
Well, the way it seems to me, Rashi is like Chancery Ksaf in relation to Old English.
That's
Right?
interesting. Yeah.
Old English is each part of the letter is done in its own way, and when you go to anything that is like cursive, gets rounder that way. Anyway, so these are things for you to look at if you want, and this forum you can get, because once we are done with the Slonima, we're gonna do the other one. Yeah, I'm gonna put a battery in here. And today is the yard side of the Sfas Emes. So I don't want to ignore that. So we're gonna learn a shtickle from him.
Yeah, and this past Tuesday it was so nice that on the renewal list that they had kept announcing that last Tuesday was Reb Zusius.
Yeah.
So
Yes, you had a Verbringen.
well, tomorrow at services, Amitai asked me this morning if he could tell a few
Such stories.
Zusius
How
stories.
wonderful.
Before the Kaddish, you said he wants
Huh?
to tell.
Before the Kaddish.
Before the Kaddish, you told me he wants to tell this story.
I can I have it. Oh, you already have a lot of nachas from him. Okay. What is still missing here? Yes. So the niggin for the Sfas Emes, the only niggin I know that comes from that neighborhood is that Burka niggin, so I'll do that one. Yai da dai 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 da dai 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 da dai 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 da dam. Ya dai 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 da dre dai rai ram. Tere ra ra rai ram. Ta ra rai ram. Ta dre ra rai ram. Tere ra rai ram. Ta-ra-ra, ta-ra-ra-ram again. Ta-ra-ra-ra, ra-ra, ha-ra, ha-ra-ra, ha-ra-ra-ra, ta-ra-ra-ra-ram. Ta-ra-ra-ra-ram, ta-ra-ra-ram, 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 ta-ra-ram, ha-da-re-ra-ram, ta-ra-ra-ra-ram, 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 ta-ra-ra-ram, 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 ta-ra-ra-ra, ta-ra-ram, ta-ra-ra-ra, ta-ra-ra-ram, ta-ra-ra-ra, ta-ra-ra-ra-ram, ta-ra-ra-ra-ra, ta-ra-ra-ram, ta-ra-ra-ra, ta-ra-ra-ram, ta-ra-ra-ra, ta-ra-ra-ram, ta-ra-ra-ram, ta-ra-ra-ra, It's for you. So, if you understand how the school of the Yehudi and Reb Simcha Bunim, that Polish school, how it began, how it worked, many of the other Hasidim were worried about it. They didn't think that this was going to be so good. Every time you make a change, there's somebody who screams, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do that. It's like the chicken mama seeing the little duckling that she raised, schreien, don't go, you're going to drown if you go in the water. So the other day I was reading a letter that the Kalisker had written to the people in White Russia that they shouldn't deal with the Tanya because he isn't doing it how his Rebbe did, He's explaining too much. He's making it too accessible. And I can understand that because when I wanted to learn Tanya, they didn't let me, so I had to stew in my yearning for a while, And I think that's in every initiation you make that so, you don't give it away so easy. I remember when they had Subud. I don't know if you know what Subud is. Anybody know Subud? You know Subud. Sushila Buddhi Dharma was the way in which they translated it, said that's where the word came from. There was a Muhammad Pak Shubu from Indonesia was the teacher of that. And his Inyan was to make sure that you don't get a chair if you want. You're happy, okay. There's more. Then come in the circle or something. Yeah, that's the one we're gonna do. But first, I'm doing a shtikle Sfasemis. Good. So what he did was he got people to do that later on was copied by Rajneesh when he called it chaotic meditation. The best way in which I can describe that is to tell a Maisa of the Rambam. One of the Talmidim has been checking him out and sees that every day he goes away for a half hour and he doesn't know what he's doing there. So he watched where he was going and he hid himself in a niche in that room that the Rambam would go in. And he comes in, closes the door and takes off his chalat, and the turban and so on and so forth. and then starts going crazy, jumping around, making crazy shtick, whatever would come into his mind, he would scream it out, and so on and so forth. And that's how he went. After a half hour is over, he smooths out his beard, puts on his turban and his coat, and goes out. And his Talmud is saying to him, "What the hell was this?" And he says, "Look, even a normal person has at least a half hour mishigas each day. So most people mix it in the rest of the work that they do. I'm taking this time, so I should do it." That's the explanation that comes to us through the Jewish tradition about that. But if you were to ask this very controlled person who claims that he has to do everything according to how the mind dictates it and so on and so forth, and that he is constantly under that tight control, and that he says, "I must give myself at least a half hour where I don't control myself. But what is it that I need to do about that? Certainly I need to do it in a place that is safe so that I don't do any of the things that would later on give me karmic problems." When Rajneesh took this on, there were men and women doing it and doing anything that came to them by impulse, and it created karmic problems. So, there are some people who feel that if they could take away all the limits, it would be good if you can be totally spontaneous. But you might say, be spontaneous. But here's in a place that is mitzumtzum, that you don't hurt yourself, you don't hurt other people. Anyway, coming back to the issue that people always complain when someone does something new. In the Sefer, but most of the time when you ask what's the new stuff that they do that really works, you find out that was already there from before. Kvar haya le'olamim. So they didn't like that Olam Shana Nefesh would take over the other categories that have come from the Riyah Kodesh, 4 worlds, 10 spheres, and so on and so forth. Why bother with those categories? So they complained.
You're talking about the Polish school.
Yeah, the Polish school, right.
So this is what the others complained about the
Polish
Chiddush
school,
of
right?
theirs.
Yeah, and they had to justify it.
When did that start with the Yehudah Kodesh or?
With the Yehudah Kodesh, see here in Lublin, everything was ooh,
Right.
And the Zidit Shoiva went into the Lurianic world, and to him that the furniture of his life was the Lurianic world, Then comes somebody like the Yehudah Kodesh and Leib Simcha Bunim and the Kotzker with the Pupik, where are you really right now? You get a sense that there is a different emphasis toward a kind of emes and sincerity and realness about it, So, anyway, he says something very lovely about Simchas Torah. Could you imagine that if you had a teacher who taught you something and he comes into the room, how would you feel? You'd honor him. All the things that you would do. But the Torah is a great teacher, and we don't honor the Torah in the right way. Think about how much everything that we really learn and appreciate comes from there. Then he says something else that I just wanted to mention. I wrote on the side, anthropic principle. Hachayim shemevakshim berosh Hashanah, ki berosh Hashanah nivra ha'adam, v'hu ikar hachayim, v'chol hachayim be'olam be'emtzaut ha'adam. Now, on the one hand, you would say, arrogating the human being over being the center of the whole thing, and on the one hand, yes, and on the other hand, no. The place where we say no is because it's not to serve the human being, but on the other hand, to produce a human being. If you say, what's the anthropic principle? It says that the concatenation of events in the universe were such, it couldn't have happened because so many different ways it could have gone, and it didn't go this way. And just the way in which it went is a sign that it needed to create people. It says, Anochi asiti eres ve'adam aleha barati, Yeshayahu. So he's saying, Anochi, Misha Anochi, going to the infinite. Asiti ares, I went down to the world of Asiya to create this world. Ve'adam aleh barati, and here he used the word beriya, because it stands for the mind and the consciousness of a human being, and not just Asiya. And then he goes on to say, barati is begematria.
103.
Huh?
203.
600.
Taryag.
Yeah, 613.
Okay.
Well, with the yud and taf. Yeah.
Barati begematria taryag. So you get that thing. That's where Chazal go with that thing. Then he goes on to say, and I'll read you this one. Berashi, Noach hayat tzarich saad. It says, Es ha'elokim his halech Noach. Why Es ha'elokim? Because if he hadn't walked with God, he would have not been able to walk. He needed to be supported by God. Bevadai Noach sheheid alav ha'katuv ish tzadik lo ala al da'at ha'chachamim lifchot bichvodo. They didn't want to just put him down when they dorshim lignai, and to say that he needed support. Ach ki kach seder hadorot. כי מקודם היה צריך להיות צדיק שצריך סעד, ואחר כך היה צדיק כאברהם. First you have someone like Noah who needs support, and then you get a tzaddik who can say, התהלך לפניי ואהיה תמים, you know, that Avraham already can walk on his own. It's so interesting when you have a child and you teach a child to walk, you know. And I remember the time when John said to me, I was saying, let me hold your hand crossing the street. He says, I could hold my own hand. You know, it was already for him to show that he, you know, he's big enough, he can handle it. שלא היה צריך סעד, כי לא היה בכוח הבריאה לקבל מיד הנהגת אברהם עליו השלום, עד שהקדים לצדיק כמו נוח. This is so beautiful in the way in which it talks about evolution also being a spiritual element. If you didn't have someone like Noah before, Abraham couldn't have happened. The world couldn't have supported that kind of consciousness like Abraham if it hadn't been for the consciousness of Noah. I'll give it to you again in his language. כי לא היה בכוח הבריאה לקבל מיד הנהגת אברהם עליו השלום, עד שהקדים לה צדיק כמו נוח. והנה כל זה הסדר שנכתב בתורה, בוודאי נוהג בכל נפש וישראל. כי הכלל, and now comes, עולם, שנה, נפש, מתנהגים באופן אחד. ויש תחילתו הוא in עולם, כמו הנער שנולד, is wild. Achin HaKadosh Baruch Hu megin v'shoma nikuda achat benefesh adam k'inyan shenitzul Noach mikol b'nei doro. So that one particular person, Noach, was saved, and so as we grow up, we get help for that nikuda in us, that it should grow bigger and that the other wild things should fall away. Umizot hanekuda naset achar kach toldot behispashtut kocha benefesh ha'adam lahotzi hamidot kedimian ha'avot. Just as it was after Noah possible that there should be Shem, Eva, and then finally be Avraham. And so it is with us too. V'achakach zochim leTorah. After, you couldn't have had Torah even before Avraham, so you needed to have Noah, and then you needed to have Avraham, and then you could get Torah. וכמו שאמרו, דרך ארץ קודמה לתורה. And what is derech eretz? Hem hamidot. How you behave and so on and so forth. So that's very, very beautiful. But let's take this thought a little bit further. I would want to say, there's always the big question, are we going to go and say that nitma'atu hadorot, that every generation gets less and less and less, as you had you know, remember, Rishonim kemalachim, anachnu kivnei adam, Rishonim kivnei adam, anachnu kechamorim. There's this kind of descent, we are less and less and less, and you get the kalpas in Hinduism the same way. After a while, we get into this kind of Kali Yuga, and it's really bad stuff, and it comes this way, okay? On the other hand, here you have another description. First, you get Noah, and then you get Abraham, and then you get Torah. So what does it say about our generation? Okay? So I want to say that our generation isn't chopped liver either. However, what was easier for Abraham to do was because Echad Haya Abraham, he was still one person. If we want to do what consciousness we can have, we have to be in a certain kind of yichud with each other, okay? Alone we couldn't do this, but if you ask what is the totality of consciousness that's available today, if it all could get plugged in a good way, what this kind of a awareness that would be, right? And you see all the things that have started to come in. All right, that's one shtickle from the Ger Rebbe, and here's another one that I want to say. That was a Sfat Emes.
Sfat Emes.
Yeah, it's his yahrzeit today.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. And then he says, Bo el paro ki ani hirbadeti et libo. So my favorite posuk, Wanachnu lo neda ma navot lelokenu, is in this sedra, and I like this. Everybody is trying to explain what totafot stands for, and Rashi says tat pat. In one language this means two, in another language it means two. Therefore it is four, and that's totafot. But the simple pshat answer. Oh, by the way, Evan Ezra this week, anybody who is at all interested in astronomy, Evan Ezra has a wonderful thing on Achodesh Azelachem Rosh Chodashim, talking about solar years, about lunar years, lunar year, very beautiful stuff, okay? So it's worth doing that. So he always likes to go with pshat, and at times he will say, Beloshin Yishmoel is this and this and this. And if he had known Akkadian, he would have come up and said, Totafot comes from the word tafu, which means a ribbon. And why is it totafot and not tofot? For the same reason that the word kabkab in Arabic and in Akkadian kabkabu becomes kochav. You know, it's like we assimilate the middle. So tav becomes totav. Okay? And so the totafot beinenecha, you get another thing. I was flying in 1975. I was here, and Ilana bought me for my birthday a ride on the glider, and that was wonderful. And on the front of the glider, there's a string, you know, at the nose of the glider. So I wanted to know what's the string for. He says, keep watching it. And then he turned the plane in this direction, and the string went this way. So the string flies in the wind to show you which direction the plane is going. Because otherwise you don't have, you don't have such an easy way of knowing which direction you're going, and they don't have much instrumentation on those things. So all these on totafot, okay? Now, but on Bo El Paro, because you can understand totafot beinenecha, you know, which direction are you going? The tefillin shel Rosh are supposed to show you.
The sailing term is telltale, which has the same kind of repetition of consonants.
Yeah.
Telltale, totafot.
Right. But in sailing, you also have the other thing. While you're tacking, and you can do all kinds of things with the sail, on top of the mast there hangs a string that shows you how the wind is going.
No, that's right. It's called the telltale.
Telltale. Okay.
Which has the same consonant.
Teltalim shchorot. Okay. All right. So this shtikala here goes like this. בוא אל פרעה, כי אני הכבדתי להודיע לכל איש ישראל לחזק ליבו שלא לירא מגודל כוחו של היצר הרע ורוב הסתרות שיש לכל דבר שבקדושה. כי גם זה רק מהשם יתברך שנותן כוח גם לסדרה אחר. וממילא מי שיש לו רצון אמת, אין לו לירא מזה, כדכתיב ברצות השם דרכי איש, גם אויביו ישלים עמו. If God likes the way you are going, then he makes your enemy make peace with you. ובאמת זה יותר גבורה והכרת גבורתו של הקדוש ברוך הוא, מה שכל יכול לתת כוח לעשות נגד רצונו. And so he goes to the place and says, why doesn't it say lech? Everybody asks the question, why doesn't it say lech el paro? To say, don't worry, I'm going to be there with you. And that's so important when you have to meet difficult situations, to recognize that the Rebbeinu Shalom is saying both, you know, not lech. You know, he's not sending you away in a place where he isn't. He's sending you to a place where you can meet him. So, Zchuto Tagen Aleinu, and we ask Reb Aryeh Leib, the Gera Rebbe, to send brochas to all of us in our Olam, Shana, and Nefesh. Amen.
Amen.
I repeat again the thing that I was saying about this little sefer. It's Yesod HaAvodah. It has commentary from the first 4 generations of rabbis on the Siddur and on the Machzor. And I tried to locate that book first in an old edition and couldn't get it. Thank God the book has been reprinted. I ordered 10 copies, and you can buy one. They cost me $10. So, okay. So we'll do that. That's the next book we're going to study from after we are done with this one here. So to go to where we left off. Oops.
Do you want to get more food?
Let's go to the bottom line of the first column, and then it go. I think that's where we left off last time. Hakol b'tfilah. I'm having trouble with you. I can't see you. So move in either direction so I can be in the line of sight with you, okay?
Do you have an extra one?
There's another one. You need another one?
Sorry, Michael.
Here. Oops. You got the place there, yeah?
Yep.
Okay. Hakol b'tfilah. עניין התפילות נמצא בהם כוח הפעולה הנפלאה אשר היא כלולה לאיש הדורש את השם וקרבתו יחפוץ מכל ענייני האמונה וקבלת מלכות שמיים שלמה, עבדות שבלב שלם, יראה ואהבה, דבקות, הכנעה והשתחוויה, בקשה וביטחון תמימות בהשם, ועל ידי זה בא לתשובה. ובקשת עזר וסליחה נמצא שכל ענייני העבודה וכל המצוות התלויות בלב נכללים בענייני קריאת שמע ותפילה. That's so wonderful that he's saying, if you were to ask someone, would you describe to me what goes in, what are the factors that go into a spiritual life? You would say, well, they have to do with avodah shebelev, it has to do with yira and ava. So he says, what is the container, the functional container for all that? That's davening. If you do davening, all these things are going to happen. And he's quoting here Yesod HaAvodah of Rabbi Avrom Slonim, the first Rabbi Avrom. Ha'avodah, hatfilah shemitchaber ha'alul im ha'ila. That's what we got so excited about last time. Okay. So it's last time. Okay. We did hatfilah dveikut, now let's go to hatfilah kalot ha'nefesh. Kavanatenu b'tfilah ena, what is that word? Ki'im. kalot hanefesh el Elokeinu uchnia lefanav im romem mutar levorah ושבחה והודעת לשמו והשליחו כל יהבו עליו, כל יהווה עליו. Yeah. What's he saying here? The word kalot hanefesh.
Ki'im to it.
The word kalot hanefesh. Now, I want you to go with me. Now, this, I'll wait until you're all here. Are you here?
Sorry.
Okay. You'll soon see why I need your attention at this point, okay? Every time we hear from various places, emptiness, void, bitul, bitul hayesh, you get all these kinds of things. And the worst of them is the threat that we will not be alive. If somebody comes to you and says, I'm going to turn you off, I remember watching the second generation of Star Trek, and Data wasn't worried about being turned off, okay? Right? But you can imagine the program that is operative in us against being turned off. If Chalila v'chas somebody were to say to me, I can save your life, from gangrene or something like this, I need to just amputate a limb. If Chalila v'chas I had to have all kinds of amputations, I would say, as long as I, can continue to live. But if somebody would say to me, I have a new operation, I don't need to do anything surgically outside of your brain, but I just need to do a brain transplant, all your memories and your feelings and all that stuff's going to be wiped out, I'm going to have a restart, a cold restart on your consciousness.
What's that movie?
Huh?
There's a movie where they do, what's that movie? I saw it recently.
But there you see how much the same issue would come in, that we don't want our awareness, our selfhood to be extinguished. So everybody starts talking about the issue of kalot hanefesh, that vis-a-vis God, we don't mind that. So go back to Rumi's wonderful poem, I was born a stone, and I died as a stone. I was resurrected as a plant, and I died as a plant, was resurrected as an animal, died as an animal, was resurrected as a human being, died as a human being, was resurrected as an angel, died as an angel, was resurrected in God. O death, where is thy sting, if by thy means I have gained so much? Okay? So when it comes to kalot hanefesh, I want to say to everyone, I would want to say no.
No.
To everyone, I want to say no. But am I willing to say no to the Rabbi Shalom? Because that element of l'ishtava, begufa de malka, to be so absorbed in the divine being, am I prepared to do it? Am I not prepared to do it? So I want to say, every once in a while, you get into a situation, you stand in a high place or at an abyss, and at that moment there's also such a temptation. I can throw myself down and finish it all, And we experience that, Am I going to do this? No, am I not going to do this? No. It's a very strong one. Most of the time, Baruch Hashem, we don't go that way. But in davening, we get the same kind of a situation too. And that's why they say in Echad, when we used to make fun of the Misnagdim, we used to say, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. God is one, and I'm the one who knows that. Okay? Right? Because he isn't in the place of what they call you know the word I want to use, participatory epistemology. He's not in the picture himself, you know. He sees himself as seeing the thing from the outside. But if you get into the picture, and there's that moment, am I prepared to be dissolved in that one? And so they say, when you go with that echad, that's a moment in which you get close to that thing. And if you don't dissolve in echad, in nirvikalpa samadhi, you know, then at least you can say Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus L'Olam Va'ed, you know. You step. That's like the Baruch Hashem. I'm still around here, you know. But I'm taking on Malchut Shamayim on myself. I'm not outside of the picture, but I'm in that picture as a creature. I'm not, I haven't dissolved. That's the Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus. Remember that crazy joke about the horse? Baruch Hashem makes the horse go, you know. And what was the other one? To stop Chalila or something like this. And the horse is carrying him and is coming down to the abyss. And he says, Chalila, Chalila, and the horse stops. And then he says, Baruch Hashem. Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, though, you go back to what you were saying at the beginning of this whole notion of the connectedness and the feeling of the void. I'm doing all this work now on what constitutes the paradigm shift, but what's the reaction to when the paradigm shift takes place? So when they made the shift, even though it wasn't all at once the radical shift from korbanot to tefillot, but it still had to be done once the temple was destroyed.
Yeah.
So there must, and I can't find this in it. I mean, when you look at things like the Karaite literature, what you find are the intellectual arguments. What you don't find is the inner pain of the loss.
Missing the korbanot.
Yeah.
Etc., etc. And the issue of the missing the Beit HaMikdash is a very strong one.
Right, but the void of, we put the emphasis on what can be gained from davening.
Yeah.
Back then, you had to convince people.
Well, just wait a minute. The important part is, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai and his Geschäft has been very much in my kishkes, if I were to say what is one of the meta kavanot that I see about my life is that one. How, after the Holocaust, after that Churban, how do you manage it? Okay? So the good part is that Hillel and Shammai had already been talking about things. And me'ematai korin et shema be'arvin, meshasha kohanim nichlasim lecho betrumatam. So it was already in the time of the Beis HaMikdash that they were considering things having to daven in.
So it was a visualization process that was going on.
And the Anshe Ma'amad, I'm going to show you the Siddur today later on. The Anshe Ma'amad, there were people in the Beis HaMikdash who were doing verbal things already. And by the time you got to the Dead Sea Scrollers, you see how much they were doing, the Hodayot and so on and so forth. So Tefillah was already around.
Right.
That the Hisdir, the Shemon Esrei, comes after the Churban. No, it's already before. Lifnei Rab Gamliel, it's before the Churban.
So it was 40,
As
50
Paul
years
is going to
40 or
Damascus.
50 years.
Yeah.
It was almost anticipatory
Yeah.
of the moment. But the example that I...
But wait, but if he says Hisdir, it means that before the Seder was made, people were doing it, but it wasn't doing in a particular order. Okay?
Right.
Okay, go on.
No, but that's the example that I used, is that the first Pesach in the year 71.
Yeah,
So they gather.
yeah.
Now it's absolutely clear there's no.
Beis Hamikdash, no carbon Pesach,
Yeah.
right?
So maybe somebody came with a piece of parsley. Who knows? They gathered. All right. They gathered. They wept. But they hadn't moved from the real to the symbolic world in totality.
Just want to remind you of one thing. By the time the first Churban was, and they couldn't remember their great Pesach that they had before with Josiah. By the way, I saw a good piece again in Ezra on that. He is raising the question, how did he make the Pesach for 7 days? If it was Pesach Sheni, then it couldn't have been for 7 days, because only one day do you celebrate Pesach Sheni, but they ate matzah 7 days. So the Ezra comes out and he says that it was a Shana Me'uberet, therefore.
That's great.
But in those days he had to, as a melech, he had the power to make a Shana Me'uberet. So I'm just saying, so here are people doing already Pesach. Al Naharot Bavel, Sham Yashavnu Gam Bachinu Bezochenu et Zion, and somebody says, oh, if we were in Yerushalayim, you know what we would have done, would have taken a Korban Pesach, and people would tell the story already. So I think the beginnings of Haggadah happened already in the first Galut Bavel. Continue.
Well, I think there's no question that the telling part
Yeah.
existed well before, but the replacement part is the paradigm shift, the movement from the actual to the symbolic representation.
Yeah.
There's this wonderful book by Owen Barfield called
Yes.
Saving the Appearance.
Yeah.
All right, and that whole
70s, I lived in there.
that's when I got that book, and
Yeah.
I turned Miles onto it. It's a powerful book. But that whole notion of, that's what was going on, the symbolic universe that was created. Our symbolic universe is very, very different than the rabbinic prototype
Yeah.
that was in the process of
That's why
becoming.
we need another shift, right?
That's right. No?
Yeah. So, but come back a little bit to that earlier one.
Is that when you mentioned this whole notion of the void and the
Yeah.
sense of emptiness,
Yeah.
and and you said, what I wrote down was that your whole notion is that davening is the filling of the empty vessel. It's I love that term, participatory epistemology. All right. The question is, that was the filler for the temple
For the
paradigm.
Avodah and the Beis Hamikdash.
Right.
Yeah.
What is now? I get your.
I still go back for another place, because I want to say something for continuity and not for break. Okay. So I want to say that I'm sure with Anshe Mamad and with all the other things that were happening at that time, look, Hannah comes to Eli HaKohen, and here you have a woman praying there, By the time you have David HaMelech, you have so many of the, even if he was not the official author of that, stuff has happened already by that time, and I can't imagine anybody else doing Bevochem Ibnei Avshalom Bano, Adonai Marabu Tsarai, Rabim Kamim Olai, so he has his stuff. I don't think, so this happened. The question is, that wonderful process by which somebody's good, warm insight that they want to put into an action. And then it becomes their minak. They do it 3 times. And then they tell their kinderlach, you know what, Erev Shabbos is coming, sing Yedid Nefesh, And after a number of generations, that minak becomes a din. It sneaks in from that way. So I want to say, you're right when you're saying that the codification happens with Yavne. He and his Chamisha Talmidim are sitting down, and a generation later on you have in Bnei Brak that they're doing this the Seder, and they're going through all these kind, and that whole Mechilta piece that starts coming up about if I need to have a model of how Midrash begins, I would say that Vayavidu Bnei Yisrael, every one of the psukim that in the Haggadah gets broken down by further psukim, search you the scriptures, you get that sense, and so you're present in the process of Midrash, Lamant is Kol Yemei Yamim, Kol Yemei Halelos, and then he goes, that's in Haggadah, that's in Halacha, but let's take it up. Yemei Chayecha Olam Hazeh, Kol Yemei Chayecha Olam Haba. You're in the process when it's doing this. I think we're in the same process. That already with the last time when we're doing Ilu Ve'alul, or when we're doing the Piasetzner, and when the Piasetzner is saying this amazing thing, how don't think God does it outside of us. How is God Mekayim the mitzvahs? We eat matzah, that's how God eats matzah, through us. I mean, this kind of unitive way is already there. So, and you could go earlier to Bang Starashelia, to the Alter Rebbe, you can go to the Baal Shem. You see that there are some precedents. What we are doing when we are making our changes, we first get the insight, and then we ask ourselves, is there anything in our tradition that hooks up to that insight? And so we do the same thing. We import, for instance, a way of meditation from elsewhere, and then we say, okay, how do we do pranayama? Al kol neshima neshima tehallel. Okay. So you see what I'm saying? We pick it up and then we connect it to something. So there's like you get a new drive, and then you make sure with the BIOS that you connect it in there so that the CPU will recognize it again, and then it becomes Jewish, And so I think something like that. So we are making changes now, and in the latest issue of Moment, there's an interview with me. So, at the end of that,
You have like 2 pages. Very good.
yeah, it's very nice. So then they keep on squeezing me about Klal Yisrael, and I keep saying something there about how we are organismically connected, and how where the spine is, I need to have bone to protect the spine, and that's Williamsburg, Mea Sharim,
Yeah.
but you can't get rid of that. But where the skin is, it's not good to have bone, And how do we communicate with other people? From the outside needs the skin. So you need to have skin juice, and you need to have kidney juice and stomach juice, and so on and so forth. Anyway, but that comes back to this thing. Let's learn a little bit more. Yeah.
About this thing. It says the last part of it. It said "V'hashlachta kol yehavea alav."
Yeah.
And I don't know what is yehavea.
I will tell you.
Yeah.
Hashlech al Hashem yehavcha. Yehavcha, what you're schlepping, is connected to the family of lahavi. Okay, what you're carrying along.
Right.
Hav.
Yahav, yeah, it's like
Yahav.
your jewels, kind of. No.
Whatever.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
part of what your pekel. It means
Okay.
your pekel.
Oh, okay.
So the Dubna Maggid has this wonderful story about Moshe who's walking with the big pekel on his shoulders, and the Poritz comes along with his carriage, and he invites him. He says, "I'll take you part of the ride." And Moshe sits with the bag on his shoulder, and he said, "Why don't you put it down?" He said, "Not enough that your horses have to schlep me. They should also have to schlep my pekel." So the Dubna Maggid says to the people, "Hashlech al Hashem yehavcha." You can already put the pekel down. Stop having worries and daigas about it. V'hu yechalkelecha. You're already in God's wagon, Okay, that's
Zalman, where's that from? That quote, that be too.
Hashlech al Hashem yehavcha.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's on the hard drive someplace. I'll have to look it up.
But it really, it's an expression in Hebrew. It really means give everything you have.
Over.
Give it over.
Yeah.
Really all the light.
Okay. Aliyah. I want. Wait. But I don't want to get lost. It was a good excursus here, but come back to that moment of fear that we have about
Dissolving.
giving ourselves up. And if I don't do that somehow, if I don't work on that, I'm always in my bubble. I'll not know whether I've come out of the bubble of my mind, of my consciousness.
Mm.
Look how every time I take it into my awareness, my awareness. And I have the feeling, but when am I outside of my awareness? So this is where the I-thou is such an important part. At least when I face another person, there is that moment when I don't know what you're going to say, like in that exercise that we sometimes do about I say half a sentence, you continue, and then you say half a sentence and I continue. So I don't know what you're going to say, and I can't, the whole point is not to be able to control. There is an element, how would I say, I wish that as much as during these weeks, Shovavim Tat, we do, there's so much about tshuva at this point, a lot having to do with sexuality and so on and so forth. And if you look in the Musar sections of Chokli Israel during these weeks, it's all Hotzat Zera Levatalam, Bio Nochrit, and this and that, all kinds of heavy stuff. But if you want to ask the question, I've learned the dinim when it's not okay, and I've learned all kinds of stuff. Where can I learn how to do it when it is okay? On the Kum Va'aseh, on the Sheva Al Taseh, we have a lot of stuff. On the Kum Va'aseh, we have hardly anything. But in the hidden words that the Mekubalim used to use, Itaruta de le'ela, Itaruta de le'tata, Mayin Nukvin, Mayin Tchurin, Zivuk, Leida, Yenika, you have that whole thing. So if you were to be able to open up the conversation and were to say, where are you at the moment of a really loving orgasm? And what happens when both of them are in the same situation at the same moment? And there is that deep sharing. Some of the, what's his name, Schnarch says, don't do it at the same time, remember, he keeps,
Passionate marriage. David Snarch.
Huh?
David Snarch, the guy who's
Yeah.
an evergreen, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
So he says, enjoy yours, let her enjoy hers, and
He's not a mystic, though.
Huh?
He's not a mystic.
He's not a mystic, right?
No, I haven't
Right.
seen him davening with us.
Yeah, but imagine for a moment if that were to be in this, if you could, how would I say, do a, what do you call slow time movie,
Slow motion.
a slow motion thing of the consciousness of just the moments before. Because as he says in the Reshis Chochmo, that the tipa can't come until the whole goof gives haskama. Isn't that amazing? So when the whole goof gives haskama, that means that there is no one saying no anymore to that moment, okay? And the big yes that comes, the big yes that comes. And if that yes coincides at that time, both yeses, and even chvais, you don't have to be a very frum person to say, oh God, at that time, right? So it gets you to that place. That's why I'm saying when it gets to that echad and davening, if we can say to ourselves, don't worry about your extinction at that moment. If you can say yes to that thing, and they keep on saying Sat Chit Ananda, consciousness, being, bliss, ecstasy, all these words that they use. And So to be able to get into the Shema from that place and say, and what, yeah, I remember once Rabbi wrote in one place says to a Talmud, was ist denn starbt? So what if you die? You know. Oh, come on, what do you mean? So what if you die? And he died, yeah. And he said, so what if you die? So you get a sense from him saying this, how much he has said the Shema and how he has been in that. Now, those of us who have had sometimes an acid experience or something of that sort have gotten to the place where we died a non-fatal death. You know? And that sense of having died a non-fatal death is something that we can go back to with the Shema. And I think that's why I'm looking at that. What does it mean when you say kalot hanefesh, okay? I think that's what I want to say. Nichsefa vegam kalta nafshi. First it is nichsefa, I go into the longing, and then gam kalta nafshi, I'm ready to let go. That's why a kala is called kala, he said, because the chatan is called nechot darga, he goes down, and the kala goes up. And so in the walking up, walking the 7 turns around, I keep saying go clockwise, because that's walking up. Counterclockwise is walking down. Okay. So with the Torah from the Aron Kodesh, you want to go counterclockwise, right? And because
And
you,
the hakafot?
huh? No. All right. In the hakafos, we also want to go counterclockwise.
Why?
Because we're starting with Chesed. The last hakafah is in Malchut. Yeah. So that's.
That's
You know,
counterclockwise around
huh?
the stupa. Around the stupa too. It's like a, the Buddhist stupa where you go around to do the flags is always counterclockwise.
How does it go with the? And I think also at the Kaaba they go counterclockwise. Yeah.
So when we do the circling of the
Yeah.
tuna, we have the woman do it,
Clockwise.
and then the man,
Counterclockwise. Right.
Yeah.
and then at the end,
We've always done it that way, but I didn't know why.
yeah, and then they both hold hands and do
And
it.
they do a circle together.
Which way?
Yeah.
Do-si-do.
Yeah, but I'm trying to remember if it's.
No, we actually just have them hold their hands
So
like
the
that,
wife
and then
goes
they just turn
clockwise.
around.
The way the rabbi tells
The
you.
kala goes clockwise.
Yeah.
But you can never remember.
That's always right. Why would you have the chatan go counterclockwise?
Because
he's coming down to
Nechot
her.
Darga. Because the point is, he has to come down to her. You know, the beautiful statement is. Ishtach Gutza, if your wife is small, bend down to her. The Gemara says, and there's that sense of bringing things down in this way.
So that's height, it's not
Yeah.
hierarchy. Height, not hierarchy, or what?
I don't know what more to tell you. At this point, I tell you something. When it gets to be Eshet Chayil, Ateret Bala, is another thing. But if you ask me, where do I start from? I have to start from what they have said, okay? I haven't yet found another way of saying that the Chatan, except Eshet Chayil, Ateret Bala. But if I were to talk about my attitude about paradigm shift is to say, "Yefshar lishnei malachim ela beketer echad." You know, if you haven't learned, look, there's neshama achad. You know, if you haven't learned to partner, then you're tzoros. Okay, here we go.
Zalman, I have a question. In this little thing, there is 5 ways that he says how to do the kalut nefesh.
Yeah.
So one is El, Elohim, El, 2 words. And then he says lefanav, in the face of him. And then he says im romemuta, so to go up, to litromem with it.
Yeah.
And then he said lishmo, into his name.
Yeah.
And then it says v'hishlachta, so you throw all the soul or whatever the pekale on him. So it's 5 different
Surrender.
ways, dimensions to do that.
You have a good way of making a sulam from that. Yeah, in his language, I think it's not. I don't know if he was medayik like this, but you see it this way. That's great. Reb Zushe said once. He says, "We have to do tshuva." He says, "Oh, it's such a hard thing." So I've broken it into several parts. Tamim tiyeh im Hashem Elokecho, and then he breaks down into something with shin, something with a vav, something with a beis. I don't remember it. I can look it up someplace. But that's what you were just doing. You're taking his process and building it that way. Yashikoha.
Okay.
Okay. Which one are we now?
Aliyat HaNefesh.
Aliyat HaNefesh. Hamitpalel yepone l'Hashem Yisbarach. That's right. Omed al raglav, mitaneg b'libo, ubisfatav, yadav krusot, kli diburo, hogim udvarim, v'yeter chalakav, חרדים ונרדים, ולא יסיר מהנעים קולות ערבים, מתאבק, מכין עצמו, מתחנן, קורע, משתחווה ובוכה, לפי שהוא לפני מלך גדול ונורא. This is so wonderful that here is somebody who has said, don't anthropomorphize, don't do this, don't do that. But that's what he does when he does philosophy. When he davens, he's in a different place. See how he describes it, right? He has, in his Hilchos Tefillah, he has this kind of thing of, you stand with your arms folded, in the Shemona Esrei, and he has you there very much like you would stand in front of the Caliph, his whole way is just this way. You hear him, and the more you read of the Sufis and the more you read of this stuff, you see how close they are with each other. Hatfilah mazon hanefesh. Oh, time is running.
What's the position he's describing exactly with the Yadav Kusuk?
Pardon?
What's he describing with the Yadav? Like is
Ah.
like it's up here.
Right. And you've seen sometimes the Pope goes like this,
Mm-hmm.
And you have this thing, Nesiyat Kapayim,
Right.
yeah, and so on. And if you've seen, Muslims will go like this. Okay. I just got a series of pictures from Israel at a meeting that happened in Galil between Arabs, Muslims, Christian, Jews, the constant work that's being done, Druzes and so on and so forth. I wish that those headlines would make it too, rather than the bad ones. Okay, one more shtickle. Hatfilah mazon hanefesh. Seder hatfilah benefesh, keseder hamazon beguf. Mitpalel lenafsho v'nizon legufo. Umatmedet alav birchat hatfilah ad eit tefillah acheret. So wonderful. You had breakfast, it should last you at least until you get to lunch. There is a thing going around in Boulder, and I'm proud of it, despite of the fact that I don't remember saying it. But they claim I said it. Somebody complained, why, if you've had a great insight in a theophany, do you have to keep practicing? And I said, if you don't mind, can I speak coarsely? Tell me, when you have fucked, do you stay fucked?
That's to be quoted like that.
You're quoted that way.
That's how they're quoting you?
Yeah.
Zalman.
That's our Rebbe.
but it fits into what I said about the kumba aseh. Yeah. All right. He's saying this so beautifully that you have to eat from one, from one meal to another. And the same thing is from the Sudat Hayom Achi Yesod Balayla v'chol asher tirchak eit hatfilah me'hanefesh hi holechet v'koderet. You get dark when you're farther away and darkened when you're farther away from tefillah. ובעת התפילה מטהר נפשו מכל מה שקדם ויתקנא לעתידו. Okay. Today, the computer world has gotten to be so easy that you don't have to do any of the work that goes on underneath, b'chashai, you know. But I remember when I started with CPM, if I wanted to save something, I had to first designate an area of so and so many bytes, you know, in the memory, so that I could put it down. And if I didn't do that, you know, it wouldn't go. So you sometimes have to erase stuff in order to put new stuff on. And so what he's saying here, when you start davening, everything that happened during the day, this is why mincha is such an important part. Le'olam yitpalel adam yizaher adam betfilat hamincha ki Eliyahu lo le'ele besman hamincha. You know what I'm saying? And the point that you see sometimes Muslims mittendrin will get down on the floor. And there's a beautiful picture of a woman in the subway holding a tillimul on, and you know, and saying tillimul, holding on to the strap. Do you remember that picture? I think it was in the Jewish catalog or some such thing, right? So then mincha is important because it sort of cleans half of the day. ובעת התפילה מטהר נפשו מכל מה שקדם ויתקנא לעתיד, right? ותהיה העת ההיא לב זמנו ופריו. יתהווה קרבתו. What is that? שובו מתדמה ברוחניים? Yeah? Right. ויתרחק מהבהמים. Okay.
Yeah, שבו מתאמן.
Shebo, okay, that's a shin. Yes, I'm sorry, it's gotten yeah. Vitrachek me'habamim. We can't help it, but since we are mammals, we have to be in our mammal place. When is it that we can say, yeah, but I don't always have to be in that place, you know? Yeah. Vahi pri yomo veleilo. And that's the fruit of the day. They are shalosh itot hatfilah. Upri hashavua yom hashavat mipnei shu mu'umad lo hadbek b'inyan lehidabek b'inyan heloki. The kuzari. There are several kuzaris, but the one that we got, there's an Al-Harizi kuzari and there's a Yehudah Levi kuzari. Every time I see... Huh?
Which is the fellow in the Yehudah Levi one? Which is the first one, did you say?
Al-Harizi, I think.
The same name?
Huh?
I never heard of that either.
Well, so you can look it up and you see there are two renditions of that. The story was around, you know? And it was such a good vehicle to put in that dialogue, that imaginary dialogue. I can't imagine that the Kuzari, the real Kuzar king, was so docile, you know, because that Indian of Talmud and Chacham, you know, Chacham v'Talmud, there's so many books in the medieval period where they have, the Talmud is always asking the good questions, he never is asking a kasha, he never opposes his teacher, you know what I'm saying? So you have these dialogues, and that I think is fiction in a way, you know, but it's the fiction to teach what he wants to teach. But this is so beautiful as he lays out things. Why do we shackle, he says, the Kuzari, because Ner Hashem Nishmat Adam, you know, the candle goes up and down. Why does Hashem introduce himself? Anochi Hashem Elokecha, Asher Hotzeticha Me'eretz Mitzrayim. He could have said, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, Asher Barati Shamayim Va'aretz. Why does he go this way? Because if he had said Shamayim Va'aretz, then he would have addressed all the people of the world. But when he says Asher Hotzeticha Me'eretz Mitzrayim, he has a special claim on us, and therefore from the rest of Torah follows because of the claim that Hashem has on us rather than general world. So he is. I don't know when. It's been a long time since I learned the Kuzari.
Yeah.
And it would be a wonderful thing if we were to be able to have sort of a daily calendar that would have a shtikale from the Kuzari and a shtikale from the Ikarim and a shtikale from, there's so many, so many wonderful beings, I've encountered, but until I find it in print, when was the last time I thought about Yehudah Levi, Okay, I want to go back and say, if you want the sefer, take it with you. You'll owe me $10 for it.
You have extras?
Yeah, I bought 10 of them.
Rabbi Zalman, we're Armenian. Should we say Kaddish to Ramadan?
Thank you very much. Yes, will do.
What happens with the class we will trying to? We're gonna have an extra class?
Yeah, but that's still, we are still trying to find time. Okay, give me a hand. Thank you. Wonderful. Yeah. Rabbi Hananya ben Akasha Amar Ratza HaKadosh Baruch Hu lezakot et Yisrael lefika tirva aleim Torah u'mitzvot shenema Adonai chafez leman tzidko yagdir Torah v'yadir. So many of you are in the category al Rabbonon v'al Talmidein v'al kol Talmidei Talmidein v'al kol man de'oskim be'oraita. So I want to ask you to think of what bracha you need, right? So that should come down for you. Yitgadal, Yitgadash Shemei Rabbah, Alma Divrach Erutev Yamlich Molchutev Yatzmach, Burkaneh Vikarev Mishiche, B'chai Yechon U'yom Yechon B'chai D'chol Beit Yisrael B'agala V'zman Kariv Yimru.
Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mivarach Le'olam L'amei Amaya.
Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitale V'yitalar Shemei D'kutche B'richu Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tush Birchata V'nechmata Damiran Be'olma V'yimeru
Amen.
Al Yisrael V'al Rabbanan V'al Talmideon V'al Kol Talmidei Talmideon and all the people in the congregations Yehei Lehon Elehon Shlomo Rabbo Chino V'chizdo V'rachamim V'chayin Arichin U'mezon Reviche Bar Yot Gufo Nahoro Me'alya V'urkono Min Kodem Avuin V'shmaya V'aro V'imru Amen. Yehei Shlomo Rabba Min Shemai V'chaim Tov Maleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru
Amen.
Ose Shalom B'imromav V'yase Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael Kol Yosher Tevel V'imru
Amen.
And may all the rabbis whom we studied and talked about today say Amen to this too.
Amen.
Shabbos.
Shabbos.